Hello friend, welcome to all of you this lecture number 10 of Banking and Finance paper 3. Last time we discussed about the Bank Regulation Act 1949, the provision about the amalgamation of banking companies and the two types of amalgamation, the voluntary amalgamation and the compulsory amalgamation. And lecture number 9 we discussed the Bank Regulation Act 1949 application to cooperative bank in 1965. Today we have discussed now the another point of the topic number 1 is the liquidation of banking company, and also we are talking about some questions on the topic number 1 as per the term and examination. So now we start with our point. So some of the important provision we discuss here, and particularly we discuss here about the liquidation. The liquidation under the Bank Regulation Act 1949 section 45. So section 45(2) is about the liquidation. So of Banking Regulation Act 1949 deal with the provision of liquidation of banking company. So liquidation means in simple word is called the winding of affairs of banks for the reasons of paying of its credit in order their preference and distribution what is left in the shareholders. In simple words, the closing of banking business means the liquidation. The liquidation is the winding of the banking affairs, means winding of the banking business, and whenever for the reasons of paying off credit it's or order to their preference and distribution what they left to shareholders. According to J. Hansen, the liquidation is the act, the termination or winding of banking company usually because of the insolvency. So some of the banks is the weaker banks, they are not capable to refund of their money of the customers, and they not earn profit as per the guidance of the RBI. So they are the corrupt and difficult to recover their loan, so increasing the NPA, and therefore they attempt to the liquidation process. Sometimes the RBI take initiative to liquidation of banking company whenever they not follow the rules and regulation of the RBI. So liquidation under section 45 subsection 2 is about the act of termination or winding of banking company because of insolvency. So process of liquidation, the application of the bank, the provision of the act provide that when the banking company temporarily unable to meet the obligation, it may apply to the High Court and paying for order staying of commencement continue to all action and proceeding against its suspension of business, generally called the moratorium. So process of liquidation, they can appeal into the High Court for their liquidation process. So banking company, this is the banking company, and they apply into the High Court and take a higher stay order to their commencement and continue all actions of banking. So the process of liquidation, the first is the application of bank into the High Court for the liquidation or termination of their banking businesses. The second is report prepared by the RBI about the banking companies, and application is required to be compliant with the report of the RBI indicating that, and it is the opinion the banking company will able to pay the debt if the applicable is granted. If the banking company is able to pay the debt of the banking company, that time the RBI sanctions their process of liquidation. And the High Court, however, has power to grant the relief even without the application being compliant by a report from the RBI. So High Court is the power to grant the relief to the banking company without the application and they prepare the RBI reports of the liquidation and winding up of the banking company. The banking company take the stay order from the High Courts. The High Court can grant the period of not exceeding 6 months. It can impose some condition on the banking companies and take the stay order. So RBI prepare a report for the liquidation of banking company, and banking company can stick orders or stay orders minimum the 6 months, not exceeding 6 months. The appointment of the special officer for the liquidation, RBI appoint a special officer during the period of the moratorium of 6 months. The High Court may be appoint a special officer to take the possession and control of the asset books, documents, effects and actionable claim of the company and confirm of his suitable powers. So RBI can appoint officers who take the all records in his custody, the record of loans, account books, the balance sheet of the banking company, take in his custody and for the liquidation process. So RBI can appoint the special officer for the process of liquidation. The certain circumstances under the RBI apply the liquidation. So bank can apply to liquidation and RBI also take initiative to the liquidation of banking company or winding of banking company. What are the circumstances is the fail to the comply of minimum capital. The minimum capital required under the section 11 BR Act 1949, and that time the banking company failed to acquire the minimum paid up capital and reserve fund as laid down under section 11 and 17. So failed the comply of minimum capitals condition, that time the RBI is taking initiative and apply for the banking company liquidation. Second is the condition of license. So RBI permit the license under section 22 to all banking company, but banking company is failed to comply to all condition which is necessary to branch licensing or bank licensing. So conditions of licensings, and they not carry their business in the long term. That's why the RBI is the take initiative to the application of banking companies liquidation. The restrictions to collect depositors or deposits. Sometimes RBI ban to the particular banking company for receiving fresh deposit, and by central government or RBI also impose a certain condition on bank to collect the fresh deposit. And fresh deposit not collect the banking company means their banking business make a trouble, because all their functions is depend on the fresh deposits, and basis of this deposit they can advance the loans and continue their banking business. So restriction to collect their fresh deposits, they fail to comply of the minimum paid up capital or fail to comply the condition of the license. The another circumstances is the fail to comply as per Act. It has failed to comply with the any requirement Act and continue to do so even after the RBI call upon it to do so or. So fail to comply of the any condition, liquid asset condition, the audit and preparation of balance sheet condition. So fail to comply of any of condition which is imposed by the RBI. The fail of compromised arrangement. Sometimes the cases in the field into the High Court, that time the compromise between the banking company and RBI and compromise between the shareholders, customers and banking company. These compromises failed to return off their debt or return off their money, and that time the RBI think that there is no more continue of the banking business of particular bank and the liquidation or winding up the particular company. So fail to compromise arrangement which is throughout the High Court and which is not the satisfactory. Unable to pay, the banking company is unable to pay the return of money of the customers and return of their debt to their depositors. That time unable to pay is banking company. So RBI think that there is the liquidation or winding of particular company means close down the banking business. The court liquidator, under section 36, 38A Act, every high court has a court liquidator attached to it for the winding of banking company in special cases under section 39. RBI or SBI or any other notified bank and individual as a official liquidator and application by RBI. So throughout the court is appoint the liquidator for the procedure of the particular banking company's liquidation and winding up. Sometimes the RBI is play the role of the liquidator. Sometimes the representative of the RBI is the State Bank of India is also play the role of the liquidator throughout the court under section 38A and section 39. So court is appoint these liquidators. So here is the end of our topic. What we learn from this lecture of the Banking Regulation Act 1949, the section 45(2) is a deal with the liquidation of banking company or winding of banking company. Liquidation is the act of termination or the winding of company, usually because of insolvency. So liquidation means the termination, winding up or closing of banking business of particular banking company. Under the section 38A of Act, every high court has the court liquidator attached to it for the winding of banking company. So liquidator appointed by the high court. So here we looking at our term and question paper. As per the term and question paper, the sum of the question on the topic number 1, like the define bank. The answer the following question in 20 words. It is the base on the topic 1. What is the reserve fund for 20 words? This is also on topic 1. Define the liquid asset is also on the basis of topic 1. And what is the amalgamation or state the types of amalgamation is also on the basis of the first topic, the law related banking in India. And answer in 50 words the question. There is also one question, explain the provision of capital and reserve fund in 50 words for the 5 marks, and here the question 20 words for the 2 marks. The answer in 150 words question, there is the one question of explain the provision of licensing of banking companies and branch licensing. This is also the base of the topic 1. The last question, answer the following question 500 words. The explain in the detail the powers of the RBI, Reserve Bank of India, which is we explained in our earlier lectures. So these are the questions will be asked on the topic 1 as per the term and pattern. So we are also looking at some questions on the topic 1 as per the our pattern 2013 pattern, but looking into the 2019. So as per the 2013 pattern, we looking at some question for your term and examination. Define bank. What is mean by banking company as per the Bank Regulation Act section 5B and C. State the two type of amalgamation as per the Act 1949. Compulsory amalgamation and voluntary amalgamation section 44 and 45. Define the liquidation means the winding of banking company or the closing business of banking. What is the reserve fund under section 17? What is the capital provision in Act? The minimum the 15 lakh rupees for the per bank. Define the liquid asset. The next is the explain the provision of capital and reserve fund, or explain the provision of banking company regarding the management of banking company under section 10A, 10B, double B, 10C and D. The next is the question about the 150 words asked on these topics. And what is the provision of liquidation of banking company, and explain the provision of restriction on banking companies. And 150 words question, to explain the provision of banking company licensing and branch licensing, which is we explained in our earlier lecture. State the provision of the amalgamation of banking company voluntary and the compulsory evaluation. Explain the provision of liquid asset, unclaimed deposit, profit and loss account, balance sheet, audit and inspection. It is the 150 words question. And the last question, 300 words for the 20 marks asked for the term and annual pattern also. Explain the following specific provision under Bank Regulation Act 1949, the provision of paid-up capital and reserve fund, cash reserve and liquid asset, audit and inspection, licensing of banking companies. So section 11 and 17, section 18 and 24, section 29 and 30, section 22 and 23 is also important in this topic. Explain in details the powers of RBI under BR Act 1949. And another question which is we explain in our lecture number 9. Explain in detail the Banking Regulation Act 1965 applicable to cooperative banks. So these are the questions we will ask on the topic 1 here. The end of our topic number 1, the laws related to banking in India. So what we are looking in this topic, you can refer for this topic the Mukund Mahajan book Banking and Finance Nirali publication and Sangare and Survey the Banking Law and Practice Success publication. We are looking the banking company's definition under section 5, B and C, the functions of banking company under section 6, the paid-up capital, reserve fund, liquid asset, cash reserve, management of banking company, then powers of RBI and the amalgamation of banking company, liquidation of banking company, and Bank Regulation Act is applicable to cooperative banks 1965. So here is the end of our topic number 1, and thank you for watching this video. The next time we will see the next topic, the topic number 2, the Negotiable Instrument Act, the 1881.